Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Anacortes City Council meeting of June 24th, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Franciac, you take the roll, please.
Mr. Fantini.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Mr. Walters.
Here.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Here.
Ms. Moulton.
Here.
Mr. McDougall.
Here.
Ms. Hubick.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, just a couple of announcements from me. I'll start with, I'd like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Moulton and Councilmember Fantini for joining me last week at the Association of Washington Cities annual conference. There's way too much to report out here on all the things that were there, but I know we all learned a lot of great stuff from that partnership with the Association of Washington Cities. 281 member cities in the Association of Washington Cities. Also, I'd like to thank city staff, primarily Parks, AFD, and APD for facilitating a safe Pride Parade last Saturday. I would, and also coming up, please continue to take time, if you haven't already, take about 5 minutes of time to participate in the city's Budget Priorities Community Survey. We'll continue to keep this survey open throughout the budget process. Also, announcement, water line replacement project. So as part of the city's water line replacement program, the contractor will be replacing approximately 3,821 linear feet of water main, 23rd and 24th Streets, E to H Avenue, and that started today. So project will start at H Avenue intersection, moving north on H to 22nd Street. So H Avenue might be closed during the daylight hours for this work. Road closure detours will be in place. Residents who live on H Avenue between 22nd and 24th will still have access to their homes. Reminder, Race Week is happening this week, so we welcome back Race Week to our city. Race Week's a 5-day sailing race taking place out of Cap Santa Marina. Course is set up along the northeast shores of Guaymas, and after the racing there'll be Race Week parties, primarily at the Depot Center, featuring live music and entertainment. Downtown Anacortes Alliance is organizing the Whale of the Sail this Saturday, the 29th, between 10 and 5 p.m. Downtown businesses will be hosting sidewalk sale, and there'll be music, entertainment, and I'm sure bargains found. So a great time to shop local. And a reminder, the Anacortes Foundation is accepting donations for the 4th of July fireworks show. So if you still get a paper mailer, you will have an opportunity to do there. And not only will your donation enhance the splendor of this display, but your name will also name or organization will also be printed in the next edition of the A-Town. And then finally, 4th of July is coming up, and town photo on the 4th of July, 10 a.m., 5th and Commercial, parade at 11 a.m., and then Rock the Dock concert at 5 p.m. at Seafarers Memorial. Fireworks at dusk, which approximately 10:15 p.m. All right. So that was announcements. And then one more thing, you saw a lot of things on the agenda. They're placeholders, and that reminds us how fortunate we are to have Mr. Franciac here as the A-team, because somebody was helping him out with that one. So not his fault we have some ghost items on the agenda. But announcements and committee reports from council, planning committee.
Mayor Merlin.
Mr. Walters.
The planning committee met right before this meeting, and we talked about basically one item, and that is docketing requests for amendments to the comp plan and the development regulations. Proposals for amendments to the comp plan are due from the public by the end of June for inclusion in the 2025 comprehensive plan update. And so the idea that we tossed around for working through those proposals and also the rest of scoping of the comp plan update is to hold a work session, our first work session based on the concept that we discussed at our retreat from a couple of weeks ago, on Monday, July 15th. We suggested we start at 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. so we get a little bit of an earlier start, keep us a little bit more fresh. It would be a single subject meeting, no preliminaries. We'd do the consent agenda, assuming that we've got payment of claims that needs to happen, but otherwise no committee reports, no public comment, anything like that, just jumping right into the single subject work session. We would invite the Planning Commission to attend, our comp plan consultant would attend, and we'd hear presentations from the applicants for the more complicated docket proposals. We don't have all the docket proposals yet, but we know that there will be a couple that will be a little bit more complicated than some of the others. And then we would have our discussion about the scope, about the docket, about our vision for the comp plan update, and the Planning Commission and our consultants would all be there to hear our thoughts. That session would then be followed by a public hearing on July 22nd, which is required by code for the docket items. And then the City Council would need to make a formal decision on docketing, either at that meeting or at some later date. Just hoping to take your temperature on that. The three of us on the Planning Committee think that this is the best way for us to get through all of this in one spot, with the benefit of having our consultant hear from us and also stay on schedule. We want to talk about the docket items, though, in the context of the overall scope, because we don't want to docket something that consumes staff time and prevents us from getting through the comp plan update in a timely manner. So looking at it holistically is sort of the concept here.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Young.
Yes, quick question for that. I really appreciate it. The only thing I guess I want to make sure that all of council has a chance to look at all of the suggestions and things that people may suggest as we begin that discussion in enough time rather than, Wednesday before. So we get a chance to absorb it and then also construct our own questions. And so when we come to the table, we're far more versed about everything that's taken place and would have had a chance to ponder it. That's the only thing I'm asking on that. I think it's a great idea.
Ms. Walters.
Yeah, we asked about that, and because they'll come in by the end of this month, staff should have time to prepare that and get it to us well in advance of the regular deadline for the packet. And they also have a 50-page memo, the Department of Commerce checklist on what needs to go into that you will enjoy. Which goes to the overall scope of the update. And that's something that I think is ready now. Is that right? Blink once for yes.
He can speak if you like. One of the thoughts, just for council's consideration, is the 5 p.m. start time. Staff was discussing whether we do that and then have the regular meeting. I think a lot of that depends on how many inputs we have for. So I don't know if you want to keep open to the 5 or the 6 p.m. start time about doing the regular meeting. Ms. Moulton.
Thank you. So after discussion, we tossed those ideas around for a little while at the meeting, and staff recommended that we do start it at 5 with the expectation that it could be a lengthy meeting, and we'll probably all have a little more energy at 8 o'clock than we will at 9, based on prior experience.
All right, any other questions on the Planning Committee report? Okay, any other announcements or committee reports that I may have missed?
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Fantini.
just two things. You alluded to that conference earlier. It was a great conference. I'm not going to go into too much detail. There was just one thing that I did want to mention from there. Councilmember Moulton did a great job carrying our Anacortes flag and our representation of the parade of flags, and Mayor Miller got a much better photo of you than I did. So the second thing I kind of wanted to say about that was there was a great general session there called Finding Common Ground, Efforts to Improve Civic Health in Washington. And the featured panelists on that were Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck, Democratic State Senator and Vice President Pro Tem John Lovick, and then Republican Representative J.T. Wilcox. And the session was all about how to have productive civil conversations. And it was great to hear how much work is going on a bipartisan basis at the state legislature to get more involved from both sides of the aisle for a much stronger civil discussion. And I was very inspired by those three gentlemen and what they shared. And then the last thing I'll just say is tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a town hall for Ward 3, but all citizens of Anacortes are welcome to attend. It's going to be at the library from 6 to 8 p.m. I'll be sharing some updates and then looking forward to engaging in discussion with constituents. Those town halls offer us a place where we can have a conversation rather than here where we hear public comment, but there's not as much conversation that happens. And I know that Mr. McDougall, myself, Mr. Walters had done one earlier this year and just found it extremely beneficial to be able to engage the public in that kind of forum. So I'll be doing that from 6 to 8 p.m. at the library tomorrow night.
All right. Any other announcements or committee reports? All right, moving on to item number 4. This is public comment. Any member of the public wish to address the council this evening? Okay. One of the things we did learn at, or were refreshed at the AWC conference, that when we mention that we have meetings every Monday night, a lot of other council members are like, you have meetings every Monday night? So sometimes this agenda is part of that. We have to do our claims and make sure we pay all our bills, claims and invoices, but sometimes we don't have things on the agenda. And we don't tonight. So anyway, so on to that, the consent agenda. Council.
Miller.
Ms. Hubick.
Thank you. Make a motion to approve consent agenda items A and B.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Hubick and a second by Mr. Young to approve consent agenda items A and B. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, items 6, 7, 8, and 9 are placeholders, and we don't have a public hearing or a closed record decision or other business or executive session. So I'm to adjournment and no further business before the council. I'll adjourn tonight's meeting. Have a good night.